Well informed during your asylum procedure. General information and the application process. An educational film by the Cologne Refugee Council, supported by the UN Refugee Agency. General information on the asylum process in Germany. Individuals who are persecuted in their country of origin can apply for asylum. The BAMF, which is the authority for migration and refugees in Germany, decides about your asylum application. The BAMF is a federal office, which has a branch in Bonn. You will have to travel there once or twice. The BAMF assesses 1. If Germany is responsible for reviewing your need of protection. If your application is valid. 2. If you will receive shelter in Germany as a refugee. 3. Which form of protection you will receive based on your individual reasons for claiming asylum. The hearing with the BAMF is the main basis for the decision in your case. The asylum process. When you enter Germany, you apply for asylum with border control, the police, or the Foreigners Registration Office. Your application is then forwarded to the BAMF. The authority will decide if your application is permissible under the regulations of the Dublin Protocol. Afterwards, your hearing will take place, which will determine the BAMF's decision on your application. This decision will be either negative or positive. You will find further information on the Dublin Protocol in a separate video. Your hearing. At your hearing. Your appointment will be published a few days before the hearing. Your PKZ number will be posted on the information board in your facility. Please check the list at the information point every day. You will be taken to the hearing in Bonn by bus. You may have to travel to Bonn by yourself. In that case, a ticket will be provided. Departure will be very early, at around 5:45 a.m. The hearing usually starts at 8 a.m. However, waiting times and the hearing itself might take several hours, so please take plenty of water and food with you. The procedure. The BAMF will provide a translator. You'll be able to outline your reasons for claiming asylum in your first language. You are obligated to provide the BAMF with a document of identification, such as a passport or an ID card. If you don't, this might result in difficulties, even years later. Please contact a consultation office to talk about these points. The hearing. The hearing is the most important part of your asylum procedure. During the hearing, it is very important that you outline everything that has happened to you. Please take your time and don't feel rushed. Remembering your experiences may be very emotional and sad. This is normal. Take all the time you need. Please bring everything that supports your personal reasons for claiming asylum. This might, for instance, include newspaper articles, photos, videos, posts on Facebook or Twitter, witness statements, letters or printed emails, documents, medical certificates or medication packaging. If you don't have any of those testaments with you, tell your interviewer that you will hand them in later. The BAMF will provide you with a deadline, which you will have to meet. Your rights during the hearing. You have the right to demand a change in translator if there are any communication problems, if you feel your translator isn't taking you seriously, or you feel that parts of your statement are being omitted during translation. You have the right to demand a change in interviewer if you feel that the procedure is conducted in an inappropriate, unprofessional, or incorrect way. You have the right to request a special representative as an interviewer. Special representatives are specific employees trained to conduct hearings with particularly vulnerable applicants, victims of violence or unaccompanied minors. A request must be made with the BUMF in writing prior to the hearing. You have the right to bring along a person of trust or representative for support. This can be anybody. However, this person shouldn't be involved in an asylum application themselves. A request must be made with the BUMF in writing prior to the hearing. You have the right to request breaks, to pause the hearing, and to take as much time as you need to outline your reasons for claiming asylum in a thorough and extensive way. The protocol of the hearing. During the hearing, the BUMF employee will write a protocol in German. After finishing the hearing, this protocol will be verbally retranslated for you by your translator. Correct or expand on certain points if necessary. Only sign the protocol if your changes were included and if you agree with its contents. It is absolutely imperative that you keep the appointment of your hearing. However, if you cannot keep the appointment because of illness or other justifiable reasons, you must contact the BUMF immediately and provide respective proof, such as a medical certificate, on time. You aren't forced to undergo the hearing if you are unable to talk about your experiences due to physical or mental health constraints. Types of protection. Refugee characteristics. A refugee is a person that, owing to the well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group or political opinion, is outside the country of their nationality and is unable to, or owing to such fear is unwilling to avail themselves of the protection of that country, or who, not having a nationality and being outside the country of their former habitual residence, is unable, or owing to such fear, unwilling to return to it. Women might also be regarded as a social group if they are persecuted because of their gender. What does persecution mean? Persecution is any act that specifically and or repeatedly severely violates basic human rights. Examples are the use of physical, psychological, or sexualized violence, legal, administrative, police-related, or judicial measures that discriminate or are used in a discriminatory manner, excessive or discriminatory prosecution or punishment, denial of legal protection resulting in excessive or discriminatory punishment, prosecution or punishment due to refusing military services in a conflict if this service includes crimes or acts under the disclaimer of paragraph 3, section 2, crimes against peace, crimes against humanity, cruelties, or acts against people based on their gender or children. There are several examples of persecution. For instance, if you were or were going to be forced to marry against your will, forced marriage. If you were or were going to be forced into military service or to work or fight for military groups, as a child soldier, for example, or to take part in combat action against international law. If you didn't want to stay with your family because you experienced violence, domestic violence, and couldn't receive any protection in your country of origin. If you were or were going to be forced to transport or sell drugs, or to prostitute yourself, human trafficking. For girls and women, if you were going to be circumcised, female genital mutilation. Homosexuality, religious reasons. What is a persecutor? Persecutors could be a country's government, political parties or organisations, which control part of the country, as well as individuals. If the persecution is carried out by an individual, the applicant must make clear that the government couldn't, or didn't want to, provide any protection. Please outline that trying to receive any protection from your state was futile. For example, did you contact the police, women's shelters? How did people in charge react? Internal protections. You have to prove that receiving protection within your country of origin wasn't possible. Because applicants of asylum won't be awarded refugee status if they 1. Aren't exposed to persecution or have access to shelter from persecution in any part of their country of origin. 2. Can travel safely and legally to that part of the country, will be accommodated and can reasonably be expected to settle there. You will be awarded refugee status, asylum, if you can prove that you have been personally persecuted and if you didn't have any options of internal protection. Besides asylum, there are other types of protection that could be awarded to you, such as subsidiary protection status or national deportation bans. Subsidiary protection status. You can be awarded subsidiary protection status if you are under severe threat of harm in your country of origin. Severe harm is defined as 1. Imposition and enforcement of the death penalty. 2. Torture or inhumane or demeaning treatment or punishment, as well as 3. A severe individual threat to life or integrity of a civilian because of indiscriminate violence during international or national conflicts, such as being threatened by civil war. National deportation bans come into play if there are other reasons making a transfer impossible or unreasonable. Considerable threat to body, life or freedom, similar to subsidiary protection status, but the threat is less targeted. Deportation cannot be enforced due to legal reasons, for example, protection of family members. Severe illness, physical or mental, that cannot be treated in the country of origin. This also applies to caregivers. However, thresholds are very high. The decision. The BAMF can decide positively or negatively on your application of asylum. If you receive a positive notification, you are allowed to stay in Germany for the time being. If you're awarded refugee status, you can stay for 3 years. If you're awarded a subsidiary protection status or fall within the deportation ban, you can stay for 1 year. Your residence permit will be extended if the situation of your country of origin hasn't changed drastically since then. Please pay close attention to the legal basis of your protection status because many of your social benefits and legal rights are based on this. When will you receive a decision from the BAMF? The time the BAMF takes to reach a decision can differ largely from case to case. The procedure might take several months. However, The BAMF must provide information on your application status after 6 months at the latest, counting from your appointment at the BAMF or your arrival at the LER in Bochum. Received a negative decision? Your legal options. If you receive a negative decision, you have the possibility of filing a lawsuit. Pay close attention to the very short deadlines. You usually only have 1 or 2 weeks. The lawsuit should always be handled by a qualified lawyer. For your first appointment, you will have to pay a fee of around 100 or 200 euros. Try saving some money for this possibility. If you receive a negative decision, please contact us immediately. Not only can you file a lawsuit against a negative BAMF notification, but also for being granted a better protection status than the one you were awarded initially. If you have any further questions, please feel free to drop by during our office hours for an individual appointment. In case of emergency, you can also contact us via email or phone. Our office hours are Mondays and Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and Thursdays from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. You can find us in Container F. You will find the entrance at the container's back.